Hi everyone and welcome. For the longest time I've been wanting to try Derwent drawing coloured pencils but never quite got round to buying them until now. I was really excited to finally test them out as they've been recommended to me for years, particularly the white pencil, which I've repeatedly been told is one of the most opaque out there. And at the other end of the spectrum, a true black, which is outstandingly dark and inky. So, as I usually do, I've coloured an illustration with them to see how they feel in practice, and I'll be filling in my trusty pencil test sheet on today's video, so you can hopefully get an idea of whether they're for you or not. I always advise trying out a new pencil before you invest in the full set, and these are open stock, so if you're on the fence, do get yourself one or two singles to try before you commit. First, let's look at the pencils themselves. This 24 set is the largest number available, which is the range's biggest downfall because I'm certain they will be in my top 3 favourite coloured pencils if only they had a larger selection of colours, at least 72 like most other Derwent sets. Their names and numbers are printed in white on the barrel for easy reading, and they have a 5mm core, which I believe is the thickest of all Derwent pencils. The 8mm barrel circumference also gives a really solid feel in the hand. The core formula is predominantly wax-based and incredibly soft, softer than colour soft pencils in my opinion, which means of course they blend like a dream. The downside though is they don't keep a sharp point for very long, although none of them have broken, so they aren't delicate pencils, just soft on application. They have a creamy laydown that feels a little bit like you're colouring with a soft kohl eyeliner. That's the best way I can describe it. They feel like velvet as opposed to the drier colour soft. The heavy pigmentation in these drawing pencils makes the laydown feel thick and rich, so you get a very strong colour payoff with light pressure. A major plus is that they're all 100% light fast, tested against the blue wool scale, 23 out of the 24 achieving the maximum score of 8, just the ink blue dropping down to a 7. This light fast rating means that the colour will not fade for over 100 years in museum conditions, which is pretty overkill for us amateur colourists, but is a testament to their quality. The unique colours are one of the most interesting features about this range. Colloquially named the fur and feathers pencils, they're all very earthy, natural muted tones, which are ideal for landscapes and wildlife. Some of them are beautifully unusual and would make a great supplement to other pencil sets, which may not contain such a subtle, sophisticated palette as this. The page I've been working on is from World of Flowers by Johanna Basford, this particular design chosen because I knew that as well as wildlife, the faded tones would also suit a vintage theme. I love how it turned out. The desaturated colours automatically turn the perfume bottle into an antique piece. I was able to create an aged, tarnished gold for the metal details, and the smoky Solway blue pencil was perfect for glass. As I said earlier, these pencils are super soft, so to colour an intricate design like this, you will be sharpening them quite frequently. However, as you can see, I haven't lost an awful lot of length on these pencils, so if you use a sharpener that only sharpens the points, you'd save a lot of wood that way. Adjustable sharpeners like the T-Gal here would probably work best on their lower settings. Let's put the pencils to the test with my handy homemade chart, the blank version available to download for free on the link in the description. Okay, so the first thing that we do on the chart is a rainbow blend. Now I'm going to have to get a bit creative with that because, as you can see, it's not really a standard rainbow that we've got in this colour set. So I'm just going to do my best and see how we go, but it's not going to look like a proper rainbow. Okay, so let's pick something that's sort of reddish. I would say probably this colour, which I think is this one called Ruby Earth. So we'll try that one and then we'll blend it into an orange, into a yellow, and we'll attempt to go through a rainbow blend. So I'll zoom you in first of all, and then we can get started. So this, as I said, is Ruby Earth. The paper that I'm using is a Frisk cartridge paper, which I'll leave a link for in the description. And I'm just going to do my best to blend all of these in. It's not obviously ideal to try and make a rainbow out of these colours, so I don't know how well the blend is going to go. But it's all trial and error. So I'm just making sure to burnish the very end there, so we're completely saturated in the colour of the pencil and we're all burnished into the paper. So the next one I think would be this kind of orangey terracotta colour, so I need to figure out which one that is now. I think I've got my pencils in order. I should have labelled them, shouldn't I? So we've got, let's go from this end. So those 4 are those, and then the next 4, and then I want this one. Let's just have a quick, yeah, I think that's the one. So this one's called Sanguine. I'm going to go in from about the midpoint of the ruby earth, and then just stroke it outward to blend into the next colour. But then I'm going to burnish over that midpoint of the ruby earth so that it all looks quite flat and seamless. As you can see already, I know we've got a test for this later, but they are quite dusty pencils in that they give off quite a bit of pencil debris, but I am pressing quite hard, so that is sort of standard for a lot of pencils. If you press hard, you are going to get the crumbs. So that's that one. Then I want the ochre colour, which, let me see, I think it's got to be this one, hasn't it? Yeah, this one's called yellow ochre. And again, just not sure how this is going to blend. We're going to have a very earthy blend, earthy rainbow. Keep having to blow all the dust out the way so that I can see what I'm doing. It's actually blending a lot nicer than I thought it would, to say the colours are all quite different. And then the next one, we're going to need a greenish colour. I'm not sure whether to go first of all with this green and then this darker green, because we have quite a light yellow ochre there. So, yeah, okay, I'll do that. So this one is called Crag Green. I'm going to have to be quite light just over this bit because I am trying my best to blend them. I might need to come back in with a bit of that yellow ochre, just in order to layer up. So we've got the Crag Green that's sort of serving as a transition colour into the next green, which is called Olive Earth. So that's the darker one on the palette. And again, I'm going to use that Crag Green, wherever I put it. Is it this one? Yeah, I'm going to use this Crag Green again to blend that transition area, because as you can see, they're not quite similar enough to get a seamless blend going. We need to work on it a bit harder. So that's the Crag Green. Then the Olive Earth. Again, just layering it up. To make that just a little bit heavier there, so that we've got some, like a definite area of that colour. And again, just blend with the Crag. All right, and then we're looking to go into blue now, so I think we can probably jump from there to this darker blue, which I believe is called ink blue. Again, we might need some more of that Olive Earth to blend. We've got a nice swatch of that across there. Grab the Olive Earth. See, if I use light pressure, we don't get much pencil dust at all. So it's not like they are really bad for it. I mean, they're worse than most standard pencils because they're just so soft, obviously. But if I keep the pressure light, then it's not too bad. So you can layer up quite a lot. Obviously it does depend on the quality and the type of paper that you're using. And we will see that further in the layers bit. What do I need now? So I would normally go for like a purple colour, but we don't have really a purple colour on here. I think the closest would be this one, which is that Mars Violet colour, which does have a sort of purpley tinge to it, or at least a red violet. But I'm not sure how that's going to play with this ink blue, because that is not a blue violet. It's a funny one, that one actually, that colour. I don't think I've seen that very often in coloured pencil sets. So I can't really sort of describe what kind of blue it is, but it's definitely not a violet blue. So we'll do our best with this Mars Violet. I'll come in from the edge. Like I said, this wasn't going to be a typical rainbow, so we're doing our very best. It might be helpful if I come in maybe with that lighter blue, the one next to the ink blue. I think it's called Solway blue, that's the one I use for the glass. It might be helpful if I come in with that as a transition. Or even this one. Let's try that. What's that one called? Smoke blue. I mean, really, you would want that to go before the darker blue, but I'm just trying to get a transition going to this light Mars Violet colour. So, like I said, not a typical rainbow, but hopefully it's shown you that blends can be achieved even if they're not the standard colours that you would put together. They're so very creamy, these pencils. They're really beautiful to work with. A little bit more in here because I do like to burnish it. That's my style. So that we've got a really smooth blend. Looks almost printed, looks almost inky. Well, I'm fairly happy with that. Hope you'll agree. Okay, so next up we have got the layers. So this is where I take one pencil and we layer it up to 7 and see how far we can get before the paper starts to sort of either mess up or tear, or we just feel like it's maxed out its limit for layers. So which colour shall I choose? Let's go for this one. This is called Venetian Red. So we do one layer and we do light layers. Okay, so I'm barely touching the pencil to the paper. But even so, it is quite a nice colour payoff. It's not very, very light. Some pencils, you barely touch them to the paper and they really, you can't hardly see at all any pigment on there, but these do leave pigment. And as you can see, the paper is textured, so it is gripping the core as well. So we've done another layer there and we'll go again over it with the same pressure. And that's 2. I'll leave this in real time because hopefully it'll be quite therapeutic for you just to watch the layers build up. Sometimes I fast forward this bit, but okay, so that's 3. So far we've still got tons of tooth left on the paper, so these are a really good layering pencil. Obviously it depends what paper you're using, that goes without saying, because some papers don't have as much tooth, they're a lot smoother and they wouldn't have the texture needed to grab the pigment, grab the colour. So it's not all about the pencils, it's definitely about the paper as well. layers gone out the box, but it doesn't matter. I quite like that rainbow blend. It's really unusual to see a rainbow that sort of dull and desaturated. You know, it's not vibrant and bright. So there's 5 layers, and still we've got quite a bit of tooth to play with. So we go to our 7th layer now. I'm trying to keep my pressure the same all the time. It's quite difficult when your hand gets into doing it, that you want to keep pushing a little bit harder. Like, I would say that this is probably slightly harder than my number 1 layer, but not too much. Number 3. 4, 5, 6. Just make sure all these bits are filled in. And 7. So I think you can see that these would probably go on layering up to maybe 10 layers. So really, really good layering with light pressure. Okay, next up is testing the blending methods. So we've got pencil only, white pencil, blending solution, and alcohol marker. So we'll start off with pencil only. So I need 2 colours that are going to blend really nicely, because I do want to show that they do blend nice. You know, the rainbow blend was a bit of an anomaly, but let's see what I can do here. So obviously these 2 blues should blend quite nicely. So that's the ink blue and the smoke blue. So what I'll do is I'll attempt to blend them both together just with the pencils, no blending solution, just like I did on the rainbow blend. Just purely using the pigments to blend. So that's a one layer blend, and already you can see it's fairly seamless. They're really, really nice pencils, honestly. I know it's difficult when you're watching a review, but just take my word for it, they are really lovely. So that would be like a 1 pencil blend. Obviously I've not burnished it, but I have burnished the rainbow blend, so you know what that looks like when it's burnished and it's fully into the tooth of the paper. I usually do burnish this bit when I do the pencil only blend, but I think I might leave it at that, because otherwise it's not going to be fair on the rest of the swatches if I've put more layers on. So I'll just fill it in slightly so you can see a bit more of a deeper saturation, but I'm not going to fully burnish it. We're going to do exactly the same thing again here, and you know, as I said before with the layering, it is sort of like the same process over and over, and I should really speed it up, but sometimes it's nice just to have it in real time, and you can zone out or do what else you want to do without having to listen to me constantly. So I'll do exactly the same as we did. And then we will try the white pencil to blend and burnish. Okay, so that's fairly similar. And I've got the white pencil here. This is called the Chinese white. And we'll start in the middle. work our way down to the lightest bit and then up through to the darkest bit. So I'm using a harder pressure here because I want to do a burnish blend. I mean, I guess I should really burnish this one because I'm burnishing the rest of them, or at least I'm taking out the spaces and the gaps in the tooth with the rest of them, so it's only fair, I guess, to do that. So I'll just add in a quick burnished layer of this so you can compare them. But you've seen it now anyway, you've seen what it looks like without. Because obviously using the pencil only is probably going to be, maybe the blending solution, but it's probably going to be the most vibrant out of all of the swatches because you're not adding anything to it, you're not bleaching or diluting anything. So this is a really quick burnish blend. I probably could get it looking a little bit smoother if I took my time. A little bit more of that ink blue. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at that because you know what the burnish blend looks like from the rainbow blend anyway. But yeah, so that's how I'm going to leave it. You know when you keep saying you're going to leave it and then you're actually carrying on? That's me because I can't leave things alone. Right, leave that now. So we've got the white pencil blend, which as you can see is a very light, delicate, milky, desaturated sort of tint of colour. So if you use the white pencil with it obviously being quite opaque, you are going to bleach out quite a lot of the vibrancy of the pigment. So that's what happens with the white pencil. Let's try a blender pencil. Now I don't have a Derwent blender pencil. They do make them, but I don't have one. I've got a Prismacolor colourless blender, which I'll probably be using on this. They also have the Caran d'Ache one. They used to have the full blender, which was almost like a stick of wax that you could snap. It usually snapped by itself, but now they have a proper coloured pencil blender pencil. So I'm going to use the Prismacolor one because it's the one that I've got at hand. So again, I'm just trying to make it similar to what we had on the first swatch. Then I'll get my blender pencil. Yeah, there we go. Make sure it's clean-ish. And we'll start from the light bit this time. I hate the noise of the blender pencil. I'm blending this, but I'm also burnishing it at the same time. Burnishing, if you're new to the channel, is when you press really hard or you add enough layers that there is no tooth left in the paper. There's no white speckles showing through like you can see here. You are pushing down the tooth of the paper. If you imagine paper looking like peaks and valleys, the surface of the paper, you're pushing down those peaks so that it's completely flat. And that's what I've done here. So I would say obviously more vibrant than using the white pencil. You do get a bit of a speckly texture because you're using basically binder, pure binder, to blend them out. So you do just end up with a bit of an odd texture, but depending on what you're trying to achieve, that could be ideal. You know, if you're going for a textured look, this could be your best friend, the blender pencil. It probably more for artists than colorists, that tip, but yeah, it's just showing you what kind of textures and finishes that you can achieve with different mediums. So again, with the blending solution this time, this is an odorless mineral spirit, which is a liquid solution. I'll show you it in a minute. And what that does is it breaks down the wax binder that's in the pencils, or whatever binder is in the pencils. It breaks it down so that you're only left with the pigment. At least that's my understanding of it. I think that's correct. So sometimes what that can do is it can make it look a bit smudgy. Depending on how you apply it, really. If you apply it with a hard hand like I used to do, I thought, right, get some on a paper stump and really scrub it. It's no good because it just moves the colour around. I think if you apply it with a paintbrush, that's probably your best bet because you're not putting any pressure on it at all. You're sort of leaving it to do its own job. So there's those layers again. Get the blending solution. This is the one I use and I'm fast running out of it and I can't find it anywhere else. It's the Spectrum Noir pencil blending solution. You can also use something called Gamsol. That's quite popular in the US. Or you've got the Zest It. As long as it's a blending solution, you should be fine. So I need a paintbrush. Let's see, let's go for this one. These are my new ones, graduate ones that I got from Amazon. I always seem to ruin paintbrushes, so I always need new ones. So I've just dipped it in. You don't need a lot. And I'm going to paint it over, but I'm going to start from the lighter area and go up because, like I said, it does move your colour about quite a bit. You might be able to see. And you can sort of leave it or you can play with it to get a bit of a better blend going on. But you may find that you get marks in, like sort of scratchy stroke marks, if you know what I mean. It sort of settles wherever you put the stroke. So you can use it. It's almost does turn the pencil into a paint, but even though I'm using it really lightly, can you see how it's taken all the white speckle off of the paper and it's flattened the colour? So if I just wipe this off, it's still going to have some on it because it's really a kind of oily feeling solution. So you don't need a lot at all, but I'm just giving it a little sort of helping hand. If I see any areas that look a bit harsh, I'm going to just go over them a little bit, try and help it blend. Just bring some of this lighter colour back up in there. And that's it. Now you can see, hopefully, that there's a bit of a halo, a bit of a spread of this mineral spirit. Now what mineral spirit does is it doesn't dry, it evaporates. It's like an alcohol, it evaporates. So that halo that you can see around there will completely disappear. If you just give it a little bit of time to evaporate, it will disappear. And if you're using this in a colouring book, it won't affect the other side. As soon as you've done it, the minute that you've done it, you will turn over your colouring page and you will see the big sort of like oily mark, but it will evaporate, it will disappear. So don't worry about that. Okay, so that's the blending solution. Just looking at all of them, I think I prefer this to the blender pencil because you don't have as much of that speckly texture. The white pencil never really works for me unless I'm trying to make it very light and delicate. And you know, these colours are quite deep, so if you wanted to make sort of tones and tints out of these colours in this palette, then you could do that by using your white pencil. Okay, finally, we've got the alcohol marker, which is a little bit of an odd one because not many people blend their pencils with an alcohol marker, but it can work sometimes. So we'll give it a go. There's lots of things you can use to blend. These are like the top 5 most popular ways of blending. So we'll just do our layers again. I'm being a little bit quicker and looser with it this time, so apologies if it's looking a little bit different to the first time we did it, but I'm trying to put the same amount of pigment or near as damn it. Okay, so now we're going to try our alcohol marker. So what I have, I've got quite a few alcohol marker blenders, but I'm going to use the Copic. So you can see that I've still got some orange on here from last time, so I'm just going to soak this out a little bit. It will stain your marker tip, but it won't last, if you know what I mean. It won't mark or muddy any other colours. So same again, I'm going to start from the bottom, little circular motions coming up to the deeper colour. And again, I think just like the blending solution, really, it kind of takes the binder out of the equation and just leaves you with the pigment, but you do still get that speckly texture. And I think actually the blender pencil has worked better than the alcohol marker. I didn't say it was a good technique, it's just a technique. And then what I would do is scribble it on a bit of blank paper. Make sure that you've got all of the pigment off there. See, these being very heavily pigmented pencils, it's taking a bit longer. Normally it doesn't take this long. I guess that just shows you. Okay, so as you can see, it's stained the tip, but it's now clean and clear. So you can use that again. Okay, now we've got colour mixing. This is going to be interesting because normally I would use either a magenta cyan and a yellow, or a red, blue and yellow. But we don't have those particular colours, so I don't know how this is going to work out. We'll give it a go though. So for the red on the rainbow blend, I used this Ruby Earth. So let's just pop that down in the first circle. So normally what we'd be trying to achieve is going from the primary colours to the secondary colours. So primary colours, red, yellow, blue, and when you mix them you get purple, green. What's the other one? Purple, green, orange. That's just elementary information there that completely escaped me. All right, so that's the red. Then we want a blue. Now, do I go for a darker blue or I'll go for the medium blue, or at least what we have for a medium blue. I've never really been good at the whole mixing thing. I don't usually mix coloured pencils to make another colour. It's not something I practice commonly in my colouring. But I've included this on the sheet because I know that a lot of people do like to see how they mix. And then I guess we've got to use this yellow ochre again. Because they're so opaque, they're kind of just sitting on top of each other rather than creating a new colour. Maybe it's something I'm doing wrong, I don't know. But yeah, it's not really working out, to be honest. I think mixing is something that paints do far better than coloured pencils, to be quite honest. But yeah, we've given it a go anyway. There we are. Okay, so we're going to try erasing now. So obviously I've got to put some pigment down on the paper and see how it erases. Let's grab another colour that we maybe haven't used. What have we got? Let's try this chocolate. That's a really deep dark brown. So I'm going to do light pressure here. To see how light pressure blends. And then a heavier pressure, not blends, erases, and then a heavier pressure to see how that erases. So you want to see if you can erase a little mistake you've made while you were doing a light pressure, right up to where you've burnished your whole piece and you want it to be erased. So will it work? So we will see. So that's not fully burnished, but it's definitely a heavier pressure than that, so we'll give it a go. Have I got a electric one? It's got a battery? Yes. Let's try the battery one first. Okay, so not brilliant. Let's try the heavier pressure. Okay, so not fantastic. I think I'd come compare them with probably Prismacolor, which are also wax based and they don't seem to erase very well either. I'll also try it with this because we can put a little bit more pressure on this, so it's going to give us hopefully a different result. Or not. It's quite the same really. So there you go, that is your erasing capability for these pencils. Not great really, but it's there for you to see. Then we have got smudging. Now I think we know what's going to happen with this one, don't we? We're going to get quite a lot of smudging. So let's choose a colour. Let's go for this one. Oh, that's Sanguine. I think we've already used that one. What else do we have? Mars Orange. So I'm going to colour this in. I'm not paying any particular attention to pressure or anything. I've literally just coloured it in. And then we're going to smudge it. So I've just got my clean finger here. There might be some oil residue on your hands. There usually is. And we'll see how it smudges. So first of all, I'm just going to do a little bit of a light smudge. Not too bad. Then I'm going to do a little bit harder. To be honest with you, that's better than I thought it was going to be. We didn't get an awful lot of pencil dust off that one either. Maybe some of them are slightly more crumbly than others. That often happens in sets of pencils, but that's actually all right, to be honest. I'm quite surprised by that. I would say that there definitely is some that do give off a little bit more dust, so they are a smudgy pencil. They're definitely a smudgy pencil. I don't want to lead you astray with that. Then we've got Solubility. So I'm going to take this dark ink blue again. I'm going to colour half of this raindrop in. And then we're going to test it with water. So let me just find a water brush that's actually got some water in it. This one has. It's also a Derwent water brush, so we're keeping on brand. And I'm just going to pull the pigment down if I can with the water, and we'll see what happens. Now usually the water reacts with my printer ink, so this might turn into a big messy blob of ink, but hopefully it won't. So I'm really scrubbing away at that pigment now, and I'm not getting much transfer whatsoever. I would say that there's a very light sort of 5% colour transfer going on, but I definitely wouldn't call them soluble pencils. They don't move a lot. So yeah, there we go. That's your solubility test. Then we have opacity. So this is telling you how opaque the colours are, and we test that on black paper. Opaque is the opposite of transparent. So if they were super transparent, you wouldn't see much of them on the black at all. If they're really opaque, they would be more solid colours on there. So we'll give it a go. First of all, let's try the red, or what we have as red, which is the Ruby Earth. That's lovely. That is really quite bright. I mean, obviously they're not bright colours in the first place, so you're not expecting like a wow, but that is quite bright on the black. Then let's try, what's this one again? The Mars Orange. Look at that though. Look at that. Then we've got the Yellow Ochre. Now this opacity test usually, not every time, but usually will show you the quality of the pigments in a pencil, because if it is more pigment than binder, you'll get more opacity on the black. Let's try this. What's this one? Crag Green. Lovely. And then where's our ink blue? Because that's quite dark. What will we get of that? Yeah, so there's your opacity test. Now, I did mention earlier on in the video that these pencils have been recommended to me because of the brilliant opaque white and the really deep dark black. So what I did before starting this was to swatch them out on some white and black paper. So here they are. This is a comparison with some of the other white pencils that I own. So at the top we've got the Derwent Drawing, what we're using today, the black and the white. Then we've got the Prisma, the Luminance, Derwent Lightfast and Derwent Inktense. So let's have a quick look through these swatches then. Let's start with the black. So just looking at them, I would say that the Prismacolor wins on the deepest, darkest black. But don't forget, there are quite a few different types of black. You can have a brownish black. You can have a black with a blue undertone. You can have a reddish black. you can have greenish black, you can, you know, it goes on and on. So but I would say that the flattest sort of true black on this is the Prismacolor, followed by the Luminance. Then I would say it is the Derwent Drawing. So I'd say it comes after the Prisma and the Luminance. It is very opaque and very thick, you know, a thick black, and it certainly would do me as a black if that's all I had. But I think you can tell the difference. I don't know about on the camera, it might just be showing you the exact same black square all the way down, but yeah, I would say it goes Prisma, Luminance, Derwent, Light Fast, and then Inktense. So yeah, I think it's pretty similar for the whites, to be honest. So it is a really opaque white. As I said, it would do me for sure. Just looking at them though, I mean, now that I'm looking, I mean, the Prisma, it has a bit more of a creamy colour to it. But I think the Derwent Drawing might be brighter just by a hair. The Luminance seems more translucent, even though the Luminance white is fantastic. So I would say the Derwent Drawing is better than the Luminance white. Definitely better than the Light Fast white, and the Inktense one is a different kind of material, so it's all a bit cloggy. But yeah, it's difficult between the Derwent Drawing and the Prisma, this one. I think I might have to go with the Derwent Drawing, to be honest, because I think the Prisma has a slight creamy tone to it, whereas this one seems to be a purer white. But again, it's going to matter which paper you do this on. So anyway, at least I've given you a little bit of an idea on these pencils, or at least I hope I have. I think that's all I can tell you about them. Obviously, I'll leave a link in the description for the Amazon listing for these. But you can get them from all sorts of places. You can get them from Derwent themselves, you can get them from eBay and all kinds of places. So you just do what's best for you. The price is sort of comparable wherever you go. So you're looking about £45, I think it is, for this whole 24 set. But they do come in smaller sets, so just get what you can afford. If you want to try a few, get them open stock. Derwent are fantastic about making all their pencils open stock, which is great. It's accessible, it's affordable, and it gives you a chance to test them first, like I said. But yeah, there we go. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video. If there's any other questions you have about the pencils, I will endeavour to answer them. So do put your questions in the comment box and just let me know what you think, really. So thank you very, very much for watching, and I will see you soon on Colour with Claire.